We're going to move on. We covered igneous rocks. We covered sedimentary rocks. I'm going to now cover the third type of rocks, which are metamorphic rocks. And then please, again, watch this video in full. I'm also going to post a separate video of the reference table. So please watch that video as well. It's very short, it's a couple minutes, and the guy will explain the metamorphic chart. It's also very similar to the sedimentary chart. Everything's in nice columns and rows. So please watch both videos in full. Again, pause, rewind, go back, check all of the information. I'll post some kind of worksheet like I've been doing. You guys have been doing a great job keeping up with the assignments, so I appreciate that. I do provide feedback, as you see, and I send it back to you. So when I do provide feedback, look those over to make sure you're seeing what concepts you're missing and hopefully learn from the mistakes you're making. But most of you are doing a really good job given the situation we're in, so I appreciate that. So let's get right into metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic, if you take the word metamorphic, it means meta, the prefix meta right here, means to change, and then morph means form. So a metamorphic rock, a lot of geologists call them cooked rocks. Heat and pressure tend to be the two processes, and so a metamorphic rock changes its complete form. It'll change the texture, the composition. It becomes a totally different type of rock. So that's why they're called metamorphic. These are the two processes, and again, it's on the rock cycle chart, which is in your reference table on page 6. So heat and pressure are the two processes that make a metamorphic rock. So when they're talking about heat, they're talking about lava or magma. So let's say you have a sedimentary rock like a sandstone, and then magma or lava comes in contact with it, and the lava or magma touches the sandstone. It's going to melt down those sand grains and recrystallize to become a totally different type of rock. Pressure is the other form process. That's going to occur a lot with plate tectonics. Now, we haven't covered plate tectonic yet. That's coming up down the road. But let's say if you look at this picture over here, you've got the Indian plate, which is made up of the country of India. You've got the Eurasian plate over here, which is made up of Europe and Asia. And when those two plates come together, they call it a convergent boundary, which again we'll talk about later. India plate's going to move this way. The Eurasian plate's going to move this way. The two plates are going to collide, and then this is a before picture. If you look at the after picture, you start to form mountains. As the two continental crustal plates collide, these would be the Himalayas, like Mount Everest. That's going to create extreme amount of pressure. So when your mountains are forming on Earth, that's going to create a lot of pressure, which is going to form also metamorphic rocks. The way I always compare this kind of process where two continental plates collide, let's say you have a hardwood floor in your house and you have a rug, some kind of rug when you come in the door, let's say, of your house, and you have this hardwood floor and a rug. If you took that rug and just kind of slide the rug up against the wall or against the door, and you see the rug start to buckle, starts to fold up and down, that's sort of what's happening on Earth. So you have crustal plates as they collide with one another, they buckle and they fold like that, and that creates the mountains, which is extreme pressure. So you have two groups of metamorphic rocks. They're called foliated, which is down here, and you've got your non-foliated. The foliated rocks are the ones that tend to form from the pressure. So pressure would go with the foliation. A rock like gneiss, and I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. So those are your rocks that are going to form from pressure. Your heat, which is going to be lava magma as it contacts the other rock and then melts it down, is going to form your non-foliated rocks. This chart, and again, I'm going to take this video over here where you see this little link. I'm going to put that in a separate video. The guy's going to do a nice job explaining this chart. I'm just going to go through it very briefly on my own. So it does show you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These top 4 rocks, you've got slate, phyllite, schist, and gneiss. These are your foliated rocks. They're the ones that are going to form from pressure. They call that regional metamorphism, when two continents collide, plate tectonics. It increases with depth. So right here it says slate is low grade. So that means it forms basically on the surface. Does not need as much pressure. And again, some of you live out on Slate Quarry Road, so that's what you find out there. All that rock that's out on Slate Quarry a lot of it is slate, and that's going to form on the surface. As you go deeper into the earth, the pressure increases, and so now you get into a more larger crystals and a more pressure needed. It's called a phyllite, and the comment column is probably the most important column to read. So you'll see slate says low grade. A phyllite, it says the surface is shiny from microscopic mica. So it's going to be like a slate. Phyllite is. They're kind of these are all kind of cousins. Slate would have like a dull finish. Phyllite would have a finish, but it'd be a little shiny. But you can't see the mica, so it's like a shiny looking slate. Then you go down into the earth deeper, and you form what's called a schist. And if you read this comment right here, it says platy mica crystals visible. Platy means little flakes, and the little flakes of mica that you can see. I call that rock the disco ball. So if you think of a disco ball, like back in the 70s, they had those disco balls on the ceiling that sparkled and all the lights bounced off of that. I'll show you a picture of that. That's what a schist would look like. And then the one that takes the most pressure, see it says high-grade metamorphism, is going to be something like a gneiss. The G, you don't pronounce the G, but it's spelled with a G, but it's pronounced nice, and that causes what they call bands. And the type of alignment over here, if you go over to the left, they call that banding. I call this rock the zebra rock. So it's going to have stripes. You're going to see dark minerals, then light minerals, then dark minerals, then light minerals. Let me just clear this for a sec. And that's what it says here. The minerals are segregated into bands. So you'll have a dark band of mineral, then a light band, then a dark band, then a light band, etc. And so I'll show you a picture of what gneiss looks like. So these are all your foliated rocks. Down on the bottom, you got your non-foliated rocks. These tend to form from, again, regional, which means plate tectonics, or something like a hornfels, which is just contact, which is heat. These guys don't have any kind of alignment. The crystals just get melted down and then they recrystallize. Anthracite coal, which I'll show you a picture of that. Anthracite coal came from the bituminous coal, which if you remember was sedimentary, but it has a much shinier look to it. Hornfels can come from all different types of rocks. Again, read this comment column. It's very important. So it says various rocks change into by heat and pressure. So that's going to be a hornfels. Quartzite is going to come from a rock called sandstone. So sandstone has that sandy feel to it, right? It looks like all these sand grains. If you melt that down again, it becomes quartzite. You can actually tell quartzite, you can put, if you kind of hold it in your hand and feel it, you could feel like a little gritty, sandy feel to it. Marble, which some of you have marble in your house, maybe counters or in the kitchen or on the floor, marble tile floor. That's going to come from limestone. And again, that's non-foliated. And then a metaconglomerate. The conglomerate, if you remember from the last video, has like pebbles in it. It's a mixture of pebbles and stuff. Now the pebbles get stretched, as it says down here. So you take that rock, put it under pressure, and all those pebbles get flattened out and kind of stretched. And so those are you got 4 not foliated and 5 non-foliated. You got 9 metamorphic rocks. And again, I'll post this video. Please make sure you watch that video so you can get more information off that. It says here changes in texture. So again, when a rock is hit with magma or lava, the crystals will melt down. So it says crystals may melt due to contact with molten material and then recrystallize, right? Re means to do it again. So you're going to take a previous rock, hit it with magma, hit it with lava, the crystals will melt back down and then recrystallize. Or pressure, again, plate tectonics. You got one continent over on this side, another continent over here. The 2 continents collide. It's going to form your mountains. That's going to cause the crystals to squeeze together. Most of your metamorphic rocks tend to be very, very dense. They'll sometimes ask that on the regions. They'll say, of the 3 groups of rocks, which ones are the most dense? Usually your metamorphics because of the fact that you're squeezing the crystals together and you're making them more dense. So there's extreme amount of pressure. And this is supposed to be funny. Obviously not that kind of squeezing. I found that picture online. I thought it was funny. So again, you got your 2 groups of rocks. You got what are called foliated rocks, and then you've got your non-foliated rocks. Your foliated rocks, again, if you go back to that chart, will either be mineral alignment or banding. The way students will ask me, I know in past years, they say, how can you see a rock that has mineral alignment? I call it paper thin. So imagine you have a printer at home, right, and you have a stack of paper. You're going to reload some paper into your printer. Before you put that paper into the printer, look at the paper, the stack of paper on the side, and you can see all those very thin paper lines, like hairline lines with a full stack of paper. That's what a mineral alignment is. All the layers are going to be very thin. You're going to see looks like paper, like a stack of paper. Or banding, which is, like I said, looks like, call it the zebra rock, where you're going to get light and dark layers. So you'll have a dark layer, a light layer, a dark layer, a light layer, a dark layer, a light layer. So those two types, whether it's mineral alignment or banding, are what are called your foliated. And then your non-foliated rocks, what you'll do is you'll see the color. It'll be like one shade of color usually. The crystals all get melted down into one color. You might have a rock that was multiple colors, but then when you melt it, it gets blended. The colors blend together into one color. The analogy I usually give for non-foliated, I said, think of picture you have a chocolate bar, a Hershey's chocolate bar, right? So if you went to the store and bought a Hershey chocolate bar and you unwrap it and you can read, right, they put the word Hershey right on the chocolate bar. Then you take that Hershey bar, put it into a pan, right, a saucepan or something, put it on the stove and let the chocolate bar melt, right? What's going to happen to the word Hershey? It's gone, right? You're not going to see the word Hershey. It's just going to become one big glob of chocolate. So that's kind of what a non-foliated rock would do. The rock would just melt down into one big glob. This is nice. So again, they call that banding. And you could see if you look at this thing where you see it's a dark layer, then like a light layer, then a dark layer, light layer, etc. So again, I call this rock the zebra rock. Think of what a zebra looks like, right? You got black and white stripes. So you kind of get that. And they don't have to be nice and flat. You can see there's some wave to it, and that's going to happen, again, due to the heat and due to the pressure. But you still get those alternating light, dark layers. So that's nice. The two types of metamorphism, you've got contact, regional. Contact means to touch, right? Think of a contact sport, football, boxing, hockey. Those are contact sports. So contact involves heat. So you take a rock, and that rock gets hit with magma or lava, and that's going to cause that rock to melt. So that they call that contact metamorphism. That is called its environment of formation. How did it form? The rock had to get touched by magma or lava to melt down. So they call that contact metamorphism. Then you have what's called regional metamorphism. Like regional means a large area, right? Like the Northeast region would be New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, etc., Vermont, Massachusetts. So you're taking a large area of land, right, a continent, colliding that land with another large area where you form new mountains, and that creates a lot of pressure. So regional metamorphism usually refers to pressure. Contact metamorphism refers to heat. When you look at pictures, and I'll show you some of these as I put some assignments on Google Classroom, the symbol for contact metamorphism that they use are these little tiny lines like this. I call those like cilia that you would see on a paramecium. I don't know if you remember from 7th grade or 8th grade science, and you learned about a paramecium back in life science. And you have, here's your, and excuse my mouse drawing, you have the little paramecium, and you've got all those little cilia on the sides of the paramecium. That's what contact metamorphism symbol will be. So this rock right here might be where this tan section is, would be something like sandstone, which is sedimentary. I'll put S. Then you have over here, you have magma. So I'll put M for magma. The magma is starting to come up from the bottom into the earth. It's coming from below. It's going to start to work its way toward the surface. That magma is going to touch this sandstone right in this section. So where the magma actually touches the sandstone, they will put this little cilia, these little contact metamorphisms, little tiny lines. Think of them like fingers, right? In order to touch something, right, you use your fingers to touch. So in this section, let me clear this for a sec. In this section right here, okay, the magma would turn the sandstone into a new form of rock. So in this section, and I'll go back to the chart for a minute. All right, let me clear this. Sandstone, which is right here, when it gets metamorphosed, becomes, if I go this way, quartzite. So that means, let me go back to now that picture, they would throw you this on the regions. They would say something like, they'll give you letters. They might put letter A, They might put letter B. They might put letter C. And they might put a D like right there. And they'll say, at which location would a metamorphic rock form? So the metamorphic rock has to form where the boundary between the magma and the sandstone. So since this is the magma here, and this is the sandstone here, and the two are touching where those lines are, at letter D, that would be where you're forming your metamorphic rock. So right there. And then they might give you a follow-up question and say, what rock would form there? So you'd have to go back to that metamorphic chart and say, oh, this is sandstone, where this tan is, and this is magma. What does sandstone become? And the answer you're looking for is quartzite. And again, I got that. Let me go back one more time. I took the chart. And again, the comment column is a very important column. I went down this column until I saw something about sandstone right here. And you see it says it turns into quartzite. So if they say, where did the rock form? And then what kind of rock? That's how I got D, because it's on the boundary between the magma and the sandstone. And then it's quartzite because that's what sandstone becomes. They call this, sandstone is often called the parent rock, and then this is called the daughter, or the son, the child. So you've got sandstone, and then you've got quartzite. Here's actually a picture of the two. So if you look at this sandstone down here, you can actually still make out all the little grains of sand, right? Sand's going to look like sandpaper, have that gritty feel. When you take this sandstone, just like I was saying that Hershey bar, melt it down to blend it all together, that's what ends up happening to quartzite. So this sandstone, when it gets hit with magma or lava, melts down and then looks like this. All those sand grains you can't see. They're all melted down and become one big blob. But if you put your finger on quartzite, you could feel it. It definitely has a gritty feel to it. This is slate, and again, some of you live out on Slate Quarry. Now, this isn't Slate Quarry. This is out in Death Valley, California. But slate, very sharp. I remember, I think it was last year, I had a student, we were talking about slate in class, and then the kid came into class one day, and he was talking about, he went out on his property, he had slate, and he actually ended up cutting his foot. And he came, he said, you know, you're right, Mr. Rocco. He goes, I was walking on barefoot. And I said, well, that was probably a dumb thing to do, which he agreed. And then anyway, slate has a very razor sharp feel to it. And he ended up cutting his foot open because he was walking on the slate barefoot. Not recommended. This is a picture of slate. So you look for foliation. Again, foliation, they call that mineral alignment. It means everything's lined up, paper thin. So if you look at slate, and some of you that live out on Slate Quarry or you know, have some slate on your property, if you pick up that piece of slate, look at it on the side. The side is the key there. And you'll see it looks like a stack of paper. All really, really, really thin lines in there, paper thin. That's how you can tell it's metamorphic. Slate is down here, and this isn't a good picture, but that's a top view. Phyllite, it's going to be a little shinier. It also has a little bit of a wave to it. A little bit more pressure, so sometimes you can tell the difference just by the top surface. Slate tends to be a little bit smoother. Phyllite's going to have a little bit of a up and down wavy look to it. So that's one way you can tell. This would be schist. So again, this forms even deeper in the earth. And what you're seeing here now, and again, if you read that comment column like we did before, I was reading to you, you can see all the little flakes. It says platy mica crystals visible, which kids will ask me, what do they mean by platy mica visible? All these little flakes of mica, real shiny, sparkly looking. I call it the disco ball rock, because if you look at it if you put this under bright light, it's going to really sparkle. Mica, schist. This is called schist. And I think I have a picture, yeah, of all three. So the slate is on the bottom, which has a dull finish. The phyllite's going to be wavy and a little bit shinier, and then the schist would be really sparkly. So these three are like cousins. I gave a silly analogy, I remember, to a student last year who was struggling with these, and maybe it was not a good analogy, but it worked for that kid, and the kid remembered it. I said, think of you're having a party at your house, and you got all different types of personalities, right? Some people are more open, some people are more, shy. I said slate would be the shy person. Phyllite would be the person who might talk to you if you talk to them first. Then they're going to open up. And schist is the one who comes in screaming their head off in the party and you can't get to shut up. They're the ones who are the life of the party and just keeps going on and on and on and on. So that's kind of the difference. It's kind of a silly analogy, but it works. This is gneiss. So again, gneiss has that banding. You're looking at the, I call it again the zebra rock stripes, where you see dark layers, light layers, dark layers, light layers. So this is in California, out in the San Gabriel Mountains, which are down in Southern California, if you've ever been out that way. This is showing you, again, parent rock and the child rock. Oops, excuse me. Limestone is on the bottom. So limestone would be sedimentary, S, and then up here is marble, which is metamorphic. So this limestone gets hit with magma or lava. They call that contact metamorphism. It melts down the limestone to become marble. So marble is just a cooked sedimentary rock limestone. You take limestone and cook it, it becomes marble. This is metaconglomerate versus conglomerate. So the conglomerate would be on the bottom. The pebbles on this bottom rock tend to be a little bit more rounded. Again, if you put this bottom rock here under pressure and then bring it to this top one, you can see the metaconglomerate. See, because again, meta means to change. So the pebbles are more flat and they're stretched out. So if you see a conglomerate rock but the pebbles are more rounded, that means it's still sedimentary. But if you see the pebbles and they look squished and they look flattened and stretched out, then that's the metamorphic form. So it got put under pressure. This is out in Wyoming. I've never been. I don't know if any of you ever traveled out there. It's a very famous metamorphic rock. It's called Devil's Tower. And this actually sticks out of the ground. I had to look it up. Somebody had asked me. It's 867 feet above the ground. You can actually climb this thing. They'll let you rock climb it. It takes about 4 to 6 hours to climb up and back down this thing. They call it a metamorphic dike. So what it is, and I'll show you a picture of this from like a sketch I made. So let's say this is the surface of the Earth right here. This red section you see here, this would be magma. The magma comes out of the ground, and then as it hardens, this magma is now sticking out of the Earth like this. These rocks on the side, these rocks that are green and brown, those are sedimentary rocks. Now, sedimentary rocks tend to be softer rocks. They're going to weather and erode faster. So over time, what happens is these rocks to the left and to the right of this magma will weather away. And this thing will kind of appear to grow bigger. It's not really growing bigger. It's just sticking out of the ground more over time. And this thing now forms these towers. So that's what this Devil's Tower is. This was actually part of a film. It's an older movie. I want to say late 70s. It was called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's an old sci-fi movie. I remember watching it as a kid, where these aliens come down and kind of take some people back on a spaceship. So if you look up Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and if you go back and watch that movie, they actually use this Devil's Tower in the film. The ship will kind of hover over this metamorphic tower here in Wyoming, Devil's Tower. So it's kind of cool. This is the chart, and again, I went through it. Just remember the top 4 rocks are your foliated. Slate, phyllite, schist, and gneiss. You're going to see the minerals are aligned, or the first 3, and then this one's banding. That's the light and dark layers. The bottom rocks are non-foliated. So a question that could come up on a region, so they'd be pretty easy. They might say, what is the name of a foliated metamorphic rock that shows banding or something like that? So you would go to the chart and you'd say, all right, here's foliation, and they said it's metamorphic and it shows banding. So you'd go here, and then you just work your way from left to right across the page chart, and you can see it would be nice. The other thing I didn't mention, which I should have with the sedimentary rocks, these are the standard symbols. So they gave you those on the sediment chart too. So these on a regions question or on a diagram, you might see these symbols. That's the standard symbol they use to represent each of the different rocks. So I'm going to post that other video on metamorphic rocks. The guy's going to talk about this chart again briefly. It's not a long video. It might be 3 minutes.